Hi, welcome to the Northeast Association of Equine Practitioners. My name is Drew Golden, and this is a series of videos that's a benefit to our members. What we're going to talk about today is modifying egg bar shoes, and we modify them to try and stretch them or lengthen them. And a little part of the reason why goes to load point on a horse. When a horse is at rest, and you're standing still, and we come down the body and we look where the center is. On a short pastern horses, the horse has pretty good conformation. His load point isn't too far from his heel. You get some horses with a long pastern or has some problems, or they just have the conformation where that foot's out in front of them, and then you look at the load point, you're getting quite a bit of ways behind it. In my opinion, heel length is an important part of keeping horses sound and moving correctly. If you don't, and you have some horses with these kind of problems, your heels start to underrun, your bulbs, if you look at them later on, they start to run backwards. They're trying to go to, all that load is taking this back third of that foot and making it drop. It needs some form of support. Maybe not this much, but we're just going to show you the problems that we have especially when we have horses that are a little bit club-footed. You got one that takes a 1 and another foot that takes a 1.5, and it's just not right. And it takes an incredible amount of time to take an egg bar, split it, take a piece out, fit it, close it back up, weld it. Or if we don't want to do that, we got a foot that's a little bit bigger. This fits this foot perfect, but it doesn't fit the other one that's a little bit bigger. And we got to open it up, cut another piece of steel, lay it in there, and weld it back up. Takes a lot of time. So what we're going to do is try and save that. We're going to try and get our heel length on the foot that requires a little more steel, a little more length, one that's a little bit bigger, a little bit wider, whatever, what have you. And we're just going to give it the support that it needs if we have to make it come back out just a bit. And this is how we're going to do it. Here we go. Number one, we're going to take a rounding hammer. I'm going to lay it on our anvil, heat our shoe up, of course. It's very important. A heavy brass hammer, the heavier the better. You do not want to hit steel on steel. What we're going to do is lay this rounding hammer on the shoe, and we're going to hit it and draw out a little pallet. This is what it's going to look like when it's done. And then what we're going to do second is we're going to use the horn of the anvil. We're going to use our horn, we're going to take our egg bar, we're going to lay it over the horn, and we're going to draw it out. And when we're done, it's going to look a bit like a pallet here. And here we go.
Okay, don't be afraid to take a couple dry runs. And what I mean by that is take a cold shoe, walk over to your anvil, find out your position, where you want to be, how you're going to strike it, so on and so forth. Make yourself comfortable before you got a hot shoe. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm using the rounding part of the hammer and the round horn, acting like two swedges. And if you want, you can take that toe and shove it all the way into that horn and lock it in there so it doesn't get so wishy-washy.
Never gonna be the same. 'Cause I saddle up my horse and I ride.
And there you go.
I make a lot of noise 'cause the girls they are so pretty.
Okay, here we go. We're demonstrating the brass hammer and a rounding hammer. Brass hammer is the striking hammer. I do not normally reach over my anvil to get tools. This is a visual so that you can see what we're using as far as hammers. So the striking hammer, the brass hammer, does really nothing but strike. The rounding hammer, if you watch, my wrist is at a bottom position. As I strike, I lift up on my wrist. You could hardly see it. Once the shoe starts to jump away from you, it's too cold. You have to reheat it. Do not let the shoe jump all over the place on you. Okay, watch again. It's very subtle. The wrist of the rounding hammer is going to be in a downward position as I strike. With the brass hammer, I pull up on my wrist. You feel it more on your wrist and you can see it. With a little practice, I'm sure you can do this. Straightening the shoe out. And there you go.
Okay, now that we got our shoes heated, we did our modifications. You saw me put them over here on the forge. The reason being I'm not cooling them off right away is because, of course, anytime you have something that's welded and you cool it quickly, you can take the chance of breaking a weld. Who wants to do that? So I have some already made up, and I'd like to show you the length at this point. And it just gives you, here's a shoe that's been done. Right out of the box. And here's a shoe that's been modified. And if we look at the length, there's your little, oops, try and get it right again. A little slippery. Okay, there's our modification. Just gives us a little more length. This was done on the anvil. This was done at, of course, it takes 2 heats when you're using a brass hammer. Of course, you know, you can't get it. You're going to want to use steel on steel. Do not. Be safe. Takes a little bit more time to get the pallet, to stretch it out. This was done with the 2 hammers. And depending on how much more you want out of it, here's our length. So, if you want a lot, if you look at the 2, this is definitely stretched out a bit more than this. That's why you have a little more length. There you go. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.